Welcome, everyone, to the January 21st City Council public hearing. We have two public hearings on our agenda tonight. The first one up is a resolution adopting amendments to stormwater systems. So, Christy, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm Christy Hammett, Central Services Director, sitting in tonight for City Manager John Reese. The public hearing on the stormwater system development charge methodology modification. This public hearing is on a resolution adopting modifications to the stormwater systems development charge, or SDC, methodology. The modification implements changes related to stormwater development standards adopted by City Council on January 13, 2014. The proposed SEC methodology includes a new rate component required for certain development under the recently adopted standards. And I would also add that Fred McVeigh from Public Works Engineering is here this evening if you have any questions.
Thank you. I'm going to open the public hearing, and I have no one signed up to testify, so I'm going to...
Maybe Fred wants to testify in favor.
You want to ask a question before I'm going to can you want to wait till I close the public hearing? Because there's nobody here?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Go for it.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a question about this. It's technical, and I know Peggy's probably the right one to ask on this one. Maybe Mark, I don't know. This is less about the rate than it is. Maybe we can tie this together by saying it's what the rate covers. There are some parts of the new regs that are interesting to me. And I'm just formulating this question as it started here, so bear with me. It's the Sustainability Commission did their triple bottom line analysis of the new regs to find that they were, from the environmental perspective, very high value, and they were very positive. They were moderately positive in the realm of social equity, and that they were neutral in the way of economic benefit. And I asked during the course of the reg discussion what's necessary to make them positive from the economic standpoint. One of those is the substantial added cost that we're putting on the creation of new housing. So I was wondering if you could help me understand the differentiation in costs if all of this is about essentially complying with our permit and DEQ. Where is the difference between all the added costs that any new house that's going to be built has to incur on site, when that's the real deal is to focus the on site versus our public costs that are covered by the SDC? Help me understand that.
Okay. The SDC change that we're considering tonight, the public hearing, is in response specifically to the NPDES municipal stormwater permit requirements that either stormwater facilities be constructed on site to do water quality treatment, or if it's not possible to build facilities on site, then it's required to build facilities offsetting or mitigating facilities off-site. And the mechanism to do that, the best mechanism that staff are proposing, is to do that through an SDC funding mechanism that will allow us to build public water quality treatment facilities along with public projects. So it's really a capacity in the public system to do the treatment that's not possible to do on site. Because it's the cost that's being borne by this additional SDC component is offsetting the cost of what otherwise would have been built on site. The SDC is generally neutral in terms of increased costs. I think your question goes back to the original idea of the requirement to build water quality treatment facilities at all. So the SDC doesn't necessarily change that cost impact significantly. It's roughly equivalent whether the LID or water quality facilities are built on-site or off-site.
Right. Do we have any measurement, or does DEQ have any measurement, of whether or not our measures were effective after the fact? Do they do follow-up and say, well, okay, all that increased cost you've added to building houses and the increase in SDCs worked. You increased quality or it didn't work. Is there a backside measurement for that? Do you know?
I think there are certainly studies that have been done to look at what are the water quality impacts without treatment versus treatment, and it's really the national policy is to require treatment with new development.
Well, maybe I should ask a more specific question. We're required to treat in order to reach certain levels of water quality with stormwater that comes off. One of the new stormwater regs talks about on-site planters, for example, which are products of Wisconsin, where they have rain in the summer and dry winters, so that when the water goes into the planter, it evaporates off or it waters the stuff. Here, we send it into saturated planters. So while those built in a new facility could cost $15,000 and won't work, I want to know, are we going to be tagged on the backside when the stuff we're doing and the places we're charging folks to pay for this stuff doesn't work right? Is there a backside measurement by DEQ that what you guys did for your permit worked?
I think you're leaving my area of expertise
Okay.
in terms of the specifics of water quality parameters and those types of things.
Maybe
I know
Mark
a
is
little
my
bit about them.
answer here.
Perhaps Mark can answer that.
I just want to know if they measure it on the backside to say what you did worked.
We don't measure specific practices that we do, whether it's operational such as street sweeping or capital improvements, but we measure the system as a whole. So we've monitored stormwater since the beginning of our program, and for certain pollutants, we've seen a reduction in their concentration in the Amazon Creek, for example. So the program as a whole, we've seen improvements in water quality, but it's in that monitoring is a very expensive part of the program. So we look at it as the entire program and not specific best management practice.
Okay.
It would be too expensive.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Okay, so with that, we'll move on to public hearing number 2. And this is an ordinance making it unlawful to discriminate based on gender identity. Christie?
Thank you, Mayor. In 2007, the legislature modified the state's definition of sexual orientation to include explicit protections related to gender identity. Eugene Code 4.615 is currently not consistent with the state's definition and does not include gender identity within its definition of sexual orientation. On November 13, 2013, at the recommendation of the Human Rights Commission, Council approved a motion to hold a public hearing and take action to amend the Eugene Code to include in the definition of sexual orientation protections related to one's gender identity. Amending the Eugene Code to be consistent with state definitions would not afford any additional legal protections related to gender identity, nor would it impose additional requirements for city operations beyond those currently required by state law.
Thank you. I'm going to open the public hearing, and 2 people have signed up to speak and have completed a request to speak form to the information desk prior to the public hearing. And when your names are called, will you please come to the podium and give your name, your city of residence, and for Eugene residents, your ward if you know it. You will have 3 minutes to comment. There are lights on the timer. The red light indicates the end of 3 minutes. And I have 2 people signed up. First up is Cass Averill, followed by Allison Cleveland. Cass?
I just passed, actually.
Okay. Allison?
Allison Cleveland. I'm the director for the Oregon Anti-Violence Project. I live in Eugene. I really don't know what ward I do live in. I would like to know that, actually. I didn't come to bring really any additional information, just to make myself available if you did have questions.
Thank you so much. I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'm going to ask if there are any questions or comments from City Council. Counselor Evans.
Yes, Mayor. I brought this forward to council as a recommendation from the Eugene Human Rights Commission. This basically is a housekeeping matter that we're just cleaning up the code so that it's consistent with the ORS regulations that are currently in place. So we're just kind of lining things up, and I want to make sure that people understand that before we take our vote on the 27th.
Okay, any other questions? I just want to comment, I think it's just fine housekeeping. Thank you.
No-brainer.
Okay. With that, I'm going to, we'll be through with this public hearing and through with the business of the evening. Thank you all very much.
Home and go to bed. And
Yeah,
I'll get up and go.
I spoke.